Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 131 of NerdPod Generations. As always, I am one of your illustrious hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the lovely Al Jetsam. Hello, sir.
Hello, friends and enemies.
And sorry, everyone, for missing last week. It was, sick kids.
Yeah.
Could have been something bigger, ended up being nothing, but that just threw a big wrench into everything, and it made it tough.
It was one of those, if this is a problem, it's going to lead to more problems, so we better figure it out. And so I deeply understand and appreciate making sure that everything was okay. And I thought about doing a solo Oscar show, and I was just like, what do I have to say about the show? Jimmy Kimmel's an asshole.
He's just not funny. We're going to get into that. There's a lot of Oscar stuff we got to talk about.
Is there a lot of everything that we have to talk about? Oh my
God, there's way too much.
We came back, and if the show is a silo, and we come and see what's in the silo every week, and we talk about it, we came and the silo had exploded.
Yes.
And kind of just mushroomed out into this giant waste of just like, okay, I guess we got to pick through all this shit.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a lot. So first off, folks, NerdPod Generations 131, so that means there are 130 past episodes. Please go to either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, look us up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get the updates anytime we post a new episode. Then please go to youtube.com, where Al has been very kindly putting up snippets of not only past episodes, but he's breaking down our current episodes into bite-sized segments for you to be able to listen to. And once again, I know I've been preaching this. The Obi-Wan ones are fantastic. I finally listened to all of them. They were great.
Yeah.
Great. So please go back and listen. It really gives you a broader idea of what we do, so you can get a better idea going forward on what you may or may not want to listen to. Like next week, we're hoping to do another retro review 4 weeks. Next week's Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, so we're hoping to be able to go...
Watch and review, not retro.
Or watch and review, which we did for Dune 2 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, all right, but we got to get into this because we got so much. So we always start our episode with what we've been watching, playing, reading. I just want to give a quick shout out to, I did finish Tears of the Kingdom finally.
That last fight.
190 hours I think I put into it. There's still so much I could do, but it had just gotten to the point where I'm like, I just got to finish this. Mm-hmm. And it's not because I want to move on to another game, even though I did buy the Battlefront 2-pack for my son, and the rumor going around that was a broken mess is 1,000% true.
Oh.
It is just a glitchy mess with the controls all screwed up. Like, I also have the original Xbox versions, which I have on my Series X because it's all backward compatible, and they run better. And these are the OG Xbox ones that are only running through the filter of a new console. This isn't a remaster like they kind of did with these, where they kind of remastered them. And they run 1,000 times better.
It sounds like when, back in my day, when they ported SNES games to the PS1. I'm looking at you, Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
And suddenly... it ran like garbage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was the exact same game, arguably slightly better sprite looks. Everything was a little bit clearer. Ran like fucking garbage. Yeah. And this happens every once in a while. For some reason, when you quote unquote upgrade a game, it suddenly goes from this game that has everything that you remember and you're okay with to why is this not running at all? Yeah. I don't understand. You have more power, more stamina, more capability. Mm-hmm. Why can't you just do the fucking thing that your older brother could do?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, the saddest thing about it is I played a little bit of Battlefront 2. The PSP version runs better than this.
Ooh.
And so that's not even a console version. That is an OG, which I love the PSP. It was a great handheld.
Yeah.
But it is a long time since that handheld's been around.
Yeah.
And it runs better than the modern. So hopefully they fix that.
And I don't have a lot of love for the PSP. I wanted to. I kept on trying to have love for the PSP. But
the control scheme was tough to get used to.
It was the discs for me, the little micro discs. I found those to be just a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And at the time I was into big Game Boy. And I looked at that and I was just like, I want this to be so much better. Mm-hmm. I was also let down by the Dexter game of Jack and Daxter.
Oh yeah.
When I played that game, I was like, "Huh, so this sucks, and you're trashing the canon." Mm-hmm. Cool, great, love to see it.
It had its plus and minuses. I have a lot of fond memories of some RPGs.
Hey, listen,
on that.
I love Ninja Turtles: Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah,
that's always my go-to. Is it good? Depends on who you're talking to.
And how many gummies you've had. But yeah, so that's all I wanted to touch on with that. How about you, sir?
Okay, so I did want to ask you what the dragon fight was like for you while we're talking about Tears of the Kingdom.
It was great. You know, I loved the ending to that game. It was so much fun. You know, once you play it for 180 hours, though, I was so OP'd that it wasn't a hard final battle at all. But it was still fun, and it cinematically was gorgeous. Well, like, I still play that game, and I'm like, I don't understand how people can have complaints about making a game for the Switch that is smaller than Tears of the Kingdom and looks nowhere near as good as Tears of the Kingdom. It's like that dragon fight at the end is so visually impressive.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does this run so good, but then like Scarlet and Violet run like dog shit? I don't get it.
Production. It's
100%.
Issues. How does Sony put out something like Across the Spider-Verse on one end, and then the very next Spider-Man movie they put out is Madam Web?
Oh, God. Woo! Yeah, that's something.
So,
that's something.
So anyway, yes, I did like that fight. For my gripes with Tears of the Kingdom, I did like that fight quite a lot.
It was a lot.
It was
a
really
lot of fun.
great way to end the game. I was very happy with the end of that game. So I have been doing a lot of things. It turns out, I started the Avatar Netflix series, so we're going to talk about that over the next few weeks. Not starting today, but in general, you can look forward to that. That's coming out. So far, so good. One episode in. No complaints.
Is it 6 episodes this first season? 8 episodes, okay.
There were a few moments in the first episode where I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but by the end of the episode, I was like, you know what? This is all right. I will take it. It's fine. I also wanted to talk about, I'm watching X-Men from the 90s, the TAS, to prepare for X-Men 97, which is interesting. It does make me really wonder what the feeling and dynamic of the show is going to be. And then the funniest thing happened. And the guy who's running X-Men 97...
I was just going to bring that up.
...got fucking canned. And it just like, this is Marvel's thing. This is what they do. This is what the Hollywood Reporter or Vogue or whoever it was.
Did they say why he got fired?
Nobody knows. They say they had a mutual parting of the ways. But usually what that means with Marvel is that the director or the showrunner wanted to have a level of control, and Marvel said, no, you can't have control over this. And there ended up being tensions at some point, and the guy who is supposedly the genius bringing this to us has walked away at the very last minute. And it's just like, Marvel, you said you were working on it.
Yeah.
You said you weren't going to do this shit anymore, where you hire a person and they build the project and then you fire them and you bring in another person to oversee the maintenance on the project, and then you fire them and then you bring in the original person to kind of polish the project. Yeah. You said you weren't doing this anymore. What the fuck, guys?
I was shocked when I read that.
I just like...
Of all of the... Because they've been talking this show up for forever.
So much.
And now it's like, he's just not going to be with the project.
And so on top of everything else, we have this to deal with. The animation I still have mixed feelings about. I still have a lot of questions about the plot as I truck my way through the original series, which is pretty good. You do have to have that kind of Saturday morning cartoons goggles of it.
Oh, yeah.
Where at one point, Juggernaut picks up a building and Jubilee falls off the building. And it's kind of Tears of the Kingdom rules, where if you fall into water or you pull out your paraglider at the last second, you don't take any damage. So she falls... instead of onto water, which happens a lot. A lot of people fall out of the sky into water. A surprising amount. I didn't remember this happening as much, but it seems to happen a lot. Instead of a paraglider, as long as you fall onto literally anything, if you land on something, you're fine. So she falls off a building onto a small pile of garbage, not like a dumpster, like just a small pile of garbage in the alley. Totally fine.
Totally fine. Gotta love superhero cartoons.
Storm then proceeds to pick up said building and drop it on the Juggernaut. To which I say, so were there people in that building?
Not anymore, there isn't.
Like, what was going on with that? This is why Zack Snyder ended Man of Steel the way that he did. Because for a little while there, that was how superhero stuff looked. So I've been watching that, which has been a lot of fun. Let me look at my list here really quick, because I did have something else I wanted to talk about. But
since you brought up Zack Snyder, I did see that interview where he said that DC is shortchanging their fans by not allowing Batman to kill.
That was dumb as hell.
And I saw it when I heard him actually say the words, I was like, that is why you were a failure.
Yeah.
With everything you did with DC, because you just didn't get it.
No, and he clearly doesn't understand it.
No.
Like, he very clearly has no concept, no understanding of the character. The idea that he thinks that this is what makes Batman interesting, no. that you're fully like, not only are you wrong, you're so fantastically wrong.
Yeah.
That I'm reminded of Orange Bastard, also known as Trump.
Yes.
Looking directly into the eclipse.
Yes.
And it's just like, not only are you wrong, you're so far from right that I can't even begin to process how you got to this conclusion.
And it's to put a nail in his coffin for me of just how much of a douchebag he is. His interview, you know, he's this multi-millionaire famous director. He was wearing, it looked like a homeless man's white t-shirt, like a Hanes white t-shirt with holes, and it has stains. I was like, that is just saying, oh my God, I'm just a douchebag. I'm sorry, you're just a douchebag. He is, every time he opens his mouth, I think that. And just seeing him and then listening to him, I'm like, you're just a douchebag.
It's so funny how quickly he burned through that goodwill. He had a lot of goodwill coming off of Justice League there for a little bit. And I don't want to go into all of it because there's a lot of reasons why he had that goodwill. And then you had the whole Snyder Cut thing happen. And then he was like, oh, cool, I'm on top of the world. And he makes Rebel Moon. And then he triples down on his stance on Batman. And suddenly we're all like, I think I'm going to go to a different party.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to be at this guy's party anymore. I think I'm done. I think I'm done.
And
with
now
this.
they're releasing, which in the interview he had said when he talked to Netflix about Rebel Moon and the sequel, he said, why don't we make the PG-13 version and the director cut at the same time?
Of course.
And then we'll release the PG-13 version, and then later on I'll release the director's cuts on Netflix. And they're like, absolutely. So he's like, they're 4-hour R-rated, like hard R-rated Rebel Moons coming. I'm like, I don't need more of that.
The problem is I don't think you're going to do anything with that time.
No.
I would love, because I liked Rebel Moon enough that I would be interested to see what he did with the quote-unquote full amount of time that he needs to tell this story. But I haven't seen anything here that makes me think that it's going to be worth it.
I don't see how it's...
And I went back to Justice League Zack Snyder, and... you know, it still had some problems. There's still a lot. I'm reminded of... because one of the things I watched and prepped for the show, we may or may not get to Aquaman 2 and the Marvels. We're hoping to. We'll see if we get there. But I rewatched Aquaman in prep for watching Aquaman 2, and which I was very glad to have done. It's a fun movie. We're going to get to it. I was watching that, and I kept on having to remind myself that this is supposed to take place after Justice League.
Yeah.
And so I keep on having these moments where I flash back to Zack Snyder's Justice League, and they have the stupid bubbles that they have to form in order to have conversations. And Mira and Arthur have like a dozen conversations. And then when Mira shows up here, Arthur's like, who are you? It's like, this is terrible.
Oh, it's just
this is George Lucas level bad retconning.
Yeah.
And dumb. Like, not only unnecessary, dumb. To boot. We have to do a quick stroll through the trailer park.
Yes.
Because there have been too many to just kind of gloss over. We have to, because we don't have time right now to do this, but we're gonna check out on some of them. I did want to start with Fallout. I think Fallout is...
that potentially could be...
I think that looks
big.
Great. I'm going to be fully honest. I think it looks amazing. It looks so much like the game. And, you know, again, this lands in that kind of middle ground of Mortal Kombat, where I have limited kind of experience touching and playing and doing things with the Fallout world. But, man, they got the look right. It feels right. It feels
very R-rated.
Yeah. It looks like it's going to be everything you want out of a Fallout game in a movie form.
See, the one that I played the most out of the Fallout series was Fallout 3. Really loved Fallout 3. Great game. And this is very reminiscent of that.
Yes.
Fallout 4 was okay, but I kind of teetered off that after like 10, 15 hours. But this has very big Fallout 3 vibes.
Yeah. I'm just so impressed at the look of it, and like it took me a lot of time to kind of understand the world of Fallout and like why it was the way it is, right? Because the first game I played was New Vegas, and that didn't really have like this whole like explanation of what's going on with the vaults and what's going on with the culture and why everything is stuck in the 50s and all these other things. So I'm just kind of rolling with it and not expecting an answer, just kind of saying, this is the vibe they're going for. Okay. And in like 2 minutes in this movie, you understand the vibe that Fallout has always had. And that's something that, for me anyway, was not necessarily something that I had experienced directly. So that was really fun and interesting to see brought to life in this way.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see if this lands as hard as it seems like it's going to. But I think for a trailer, this looks really good.
Thing I'm super excited. I love Matt Berry. If you've never seen Matt Berry, he's a British actor and comedian.
He's on
What We Do in the Shadows. He plays Laszlo. Hysterical. Like, I can't watch or listen to anything with his voice and not laugh. And he plays the robot, like, butler.
Yeah.
And just hearing his voice, right there, I was like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Like, far more over Jack Black's Claptrap and Borderlands. Like, this one, it's like, that voice belongs in that. Because it's British, and it, you know, I think in the game, the butlers all have British accents.
I think so.
And so to have the robot butler be Matt Berry, I was like, I'm fucking sold.
That's great.
And they're all getting dropped on the same day, too,
I think
right?
so. I think it's an all-at-once release because it's Amazon, and Amazon doesn't always do. Sometimes they do weeklies, but I don't think they are.
Because the Lord of the Rings was that was a weekly, wasn't it?
Lord of the Rings was weekly, as was Vox Machina.
That's right.
And currently Invincible is weekly.
And I think The Boys is. Oh yeah, I forgot season 2 of Invincible. I got to watch that again.
Yeah, they just started it
part
again.
Part 2 of season 2.
Yeah, they just restarted it. Probably like a few days ago.
Yeah, it was just a couple days.
So we're probably going to review it sometime later on in April when the whole thing has dropped.
Yep.
Mainly because me and my buddy want to wait until the whole thing drops to watch it.
Yep.
So, but anyway, while I'm thinking of it, actually, you'll appreciate this story. So going back to watching, playing, reading for a hot second, and then we'll get back to the trailer park. One of our classic tangents. I was watching Beer Fest.
Nice.
For the first time, like watching, because I had seen parts of it on Comedy Central, and I had seen like the first 20 or 30 minutes at my buddy's house back when we had just graduated from high school, which is somehow 17 years ago.
You're telling me, dude.
Anyway, I'm watching this movie, and my buddy and me, we've had a good time. We've had a few. We're enjoying ourselves, and we get to the point where Landfill dies.
Yes.
And my buddy is sitting there like, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I don't remember him dying. I think this is part of just the director's cut. And I'm sitting there like, I didn't get to this part of the movie, but I know this guy is in the end of the movie. He has the boot at the end of the movie. I remember that scene where at the end of the movie, he's the guy that has the boot and it spills in his face. So is this a fake out? And we're just going along and going along and going along. And anybody who doesn't know, it's like a 10-minute process of mourning Landfill. And we're just like, what the fuck?
And then Landfill 2.
And then Landfill 2 shows up. And we're like, oh, that's why.
Oh, I loved. Because what they were kind of playing off of with when Landfill died, I don't know if you ever heard of a movie called Strange Brew.
I've heard of it.
Okay, Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas.
Yes,
they were on
the Canadian
SCTV,
one.
Yeah,
yes.
They had the Bob and Doug McKenzie, and then they made a movie, Strange Brew, where there's a part where Rick Moranis' character, I can't remember which one he is, he gets stuck with a woman in a big vat of beer that's filling, and he drinks the whole thing, and it makes him blow up huge, and then he pisses and burps and like goes back to normal size. So at first I was like, is that what they're trying to do? And I think that's what they were hinting at. But then they're like, no, he's just gonna fucking die. We're just gonna bring his twin brother.
And it was so funny because like it's exactly what they're doing. It's like they have the funnel going, and also how fun is it to see really bad early 2000s CGI?
Oh, so
some
good.
of the moments at the end where they're supposedly drinking really quickly is whoo boy. Even in my inebriated state, I was like, sure, we'll go with this.
But they also had a budget of like $15.
No, I know. That's the thing, is that
theater.
I don't mind. It's like when you see bad CGI in Hot Rod, you're like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's almost part of the
be.
charm of the thing. But anyway, I just, that was the funniest moment. I love moments like that in movies where something ancillary to the movie experience has a befounding effect on the movie itself without impacting the movie itself.
Yeah.
And so I've had it with this Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie called The Lookout, which me and my parents watched, and it began halfway through, and the main character has memory issues, and so we just thought that was how the movie started, was with this guy showing up at a party where he doesn't remember anybody, but they all seem to remember him, and we were like, oh, this is a really interesting filmmaking choice, and we kept going, and we kept going, and we kept going. We watched 20 minutes of the movie, and we're like, I feel like we're missing something. Yeah, the entire first half of the movie.
That's so amazing.
So yeah, it was a fun time.
So you saw for the first time the Willie Nelson part at the end then?
I have seen that scene.
Oh, okay, you have seen that.
I had seen that scene on Comedy Central.
Okay.
And it was very funny, again, because me and my buddy were joking about how they should have brought in Seth Rogen and done a sequel. Because
they were in talks to do one forever.
And it ends with them saying that Potfest is coming.
Yeah.
And I just look at my buddy after us going back and forth for like 20 minutes about how great it would be to see Seth Rogen in a sequel version of this. And because he was talking about how he wanted to see Seth Rogen's writing team.
Yeah.
And that whole crew tackle this type of thing, which I agree. I think that'd be really, really funny.
Fucking awesome.
And they end with Potfest coming, and I just turned to him like, don't make promises you can't keep, boys.
Oh my God. And it's sad too, because I would have loved it, because I love Beer Fest.
Yeah.
That's one of my, like, everyone's like Super Troopers, which I do love Super Troopers, and I love Slam and Salmon, and what's the one they did, Club Dread, which was, yeah, it's moments, but Beer Fest, I love Beer Fest so much. Yeah. It's such a great movie.
It has such an energy all its own.
Yeah.
It's just so weird and different, and then people you recognize will show up. I'd forgotten that Donald Sutherland is the grandfather, and that Cloris Leachman is here the whole time, and just all these different things. I was like, huh, that fake out at the beginning where I swear, I think that the guy from, I think that's the jet pilot from Red Dawn as the priest.
Yeah, I think so too.
At the beginning, and he just puts on his collar at the last second. I was like, all right, I see what we're doing here. Yeah. This is going to be fun.
It's pretty great.
This is going to be good.
Great.
Anyway, going back to the trailer park, there were a few things that we want to touch on. I know that I saw. Did you see the trailer for Late Night with the Devil?
No.
So this is David Dashmalian as a 70s...
Oh, no, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. The game show. Yes.
Game show, talk show.
Game show, talk show. Yeah.
Where he has different people with different weird experiences.
It's kind of like a mix between The Exorcist, because it's a little girl with the devil in her.
Yeah, and I am very interested in that. I think that looks really, really good. That was one that I saw, and I was instantly
I'm
like,
happy
let's go.
He has a leading role finally in a movie.
Yeah.
Because he really is the one, like, leading. And I hope it works out.
I really hope so, because he's been the weird side character, and then he was in Demeter, in the sense that he was so good in it that you fully forget that he was the first mate in the Demeter.
Yeah.
He was so good. He just disappeared into that role so fully, and it just was amazing. He was so good. I wanted to touch on Inside Out 2, mainly to say, I don't know if this is going to work out.
I don't give a
shit.
shit.
I have concerns. I am not sold.
Well, they want to make sequels to these movies that were not... I mean, they made a lot of money, but it wasn't like a cultural thing where it's like, yeah, we need a sequel. Like, they're making a sequel to Moana. Kind of understandable. Like, Moana's still enough of a thing. Yeah. No one talks about Inside Out 1. No. Ever.
Well, and then you run into the issue of retconning. You introduce all these new emotions because she turns into a teenager. Yeah. Okay, that's, pretty layup. I get how that is your next line in thinking. Really quick, though, we have seen the inside of full-grown adults' heads, and they only have the 5 emotions. So is that going to be addressed? Are you just going to hope we forget about it? Is it going to be addressed in the moment? Like, oh, these guys were here the whole time. We just didn't see them. And okay.
I think this is going to be another one of those middling movies where it'll make a, like kind of like Wish.
Yeah.
Which it still blows my mind that thing, you still can't rent it. You have to pay $20 to get it.
They are trying to make some kind of money off of it.
That thing failed.
Failed terribly.
Put it on fucking Disney Plus, like an Adam Sandler movie on Netflix, and it'll get a ton of views, and maybe you can get a little bit of people to come back. Yeah, something.
Yeah. No, I was interested in that movie when I heard about the animation style, and then I heard about everything else, and I was like, I'm not that interested in it.
No. Like, even the first one was okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think of it and go, that was great. Like, it came around.
I really like the first Inside Out. I do think that it kind of wibble wobbles in my mind as to how much I really enjoy it versus how much I just have rosy feelings about it. But I do think that, you know, I get making a sequel to it. It's not like Toy Story 4 where you're like, really? What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? But I don't know that this approach is going to pay off. This already raises more questions than answers in my mind. So we'll see how that goes.
Around the exact same time that Inside Out came out, Zootopia came out.
Yeah.
I remember Zootopia far more than Inside Out. And it's like, that should tell you something. And I don't think I'm alone with that. I think most people remember... It just seems like they always... At first, when Pixar was making these movies, they said they didn't really want to do sequels. Then, of course, they started doing them with Toy Story, which were successful. They did it with Incredibles 2, which was successful. But every other sequel they've made pretty much for their movies have been like kind of mad. Because
Finding Dory didn't hit. Monsters University didn't hit.
Not at all.
And I look at this and
it's like, tell unique stories. Like, I love the about the jazz musician at Soul. Soul was awesome.
I still had mixed feelings about Soul.
But it was different. You know what I mean?
It was
a different story, and I loved that because of it. And then, you know, I also have some positives towards the Fire and Water one, even though it wasn't perfect, but it was different. You know what I mean? It's like, tell a different story. If it succeeds or not, fine.
Yeah, no,
but at least it's a new story.
I agree with that. Or tell a different version of the same story. So you explore the same conceit with different people in a different situation who are older, younger, different. You know, so you have really old people and really young people. It's about bridging the gap between boomers and Zers and Zoomers. Excuse me.
Get like an Indian filmmaker. And make about a child whose nationality is from India. Yeah. And say, you know, there's going to be similarities, but there's also going to be differences in thoughts. Yeah. Do something like that. Yeah. Just like you're saying. Do something a little different, even if it's the same premise.
There's a lot more to do than, hey, teenagers are grumpy. Yeah. And I look at, what's the one that they brought in that I was like, really? We're doing this? The French one. Malaise, but it's not Malaise.
I know what you're saying. I
can't remember the actual name for it. But they brought in that, and I was like, this is one of the ones. You're going to bring in these new emotions, and this is one of them. Okay. I don't know that boredom is really like a topic dripping with options. I think this is kind of shallow. This is a pretty shallow pool. I get what you're doing. Because teenagers. Well,
and another thing, and this is just a rumor of what is going on with the movie. What I did like about the first Inside Out is it kind of showed the innocence of youth and kind of losing a little bit of that. Yeah. This one, they're going to introduce, I don't know if it's going to be a big thing, but they're going to kind of introduce sexuality because she's a teenager now, and it's like, you don't need that.
I don't even know that they are going to.
That's like I said, that's only a rumor that they're going to start showing some of these emotions going towards, I have feelings towards, you know, other people in this way. So I'm not like talking like they're going to start having sex or anything like that, but they're going to start introducing that thought, which it's like, I kind of wish they would stick with that innocence of youth thing than necessarily having to, I don't know. That's just weird to me. I'm not a fan.
I'm also hogtied by the fact that I like Amy Poehler. I don't love Amy Poehler.
No, she was great on Parks and Recreation.
And she's passing for me. Yeah. It's fine. But she's no Tina Fey. I prefer Tina Fey to Amy Poehler every time. I did want to just touch on The Crow, just kind of like a base.
It looks awesome.
They're bringing back The Crow. And they got Pennywise the Dancing Clown is going to be The Crow. And it's The Crow. My big question is his name still Draven? I really just like, is this going to be good? I have no idea. This could be the quiet hit of the summer. This could bring in emos like it did in the 90s.
See, what people forget about that, though, and because I was there opening night of the OG Crow, the original one where, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was in high school and a bunch of girls were taking their shirts off and they had black bras on. I was like, all right, this is all right. But it was a cultural phenomenon because Brandon Lee died while making it, and there was this supernatural take to the movie where he's this avenging angel who was dead and comes back to life. So it was kind of in the moment that it
Yeah.
became a cultural thing. It's like
It was a zeitgeist.
yeah, well, he plays Zeitgeist too.
I know.
Yeah, that's why you said it. Thank you very much. But it's like, I think that's why that was so successful, because if you look at all of the awful, which I've never seen it, but one of the sequels to The Crow has the guy that played John Connor.
Jason Clarke?
No, the young kid in Terminator 2.
Eddie Furlong.
Eddie Furlong. And just the box art of him in the Crow makeup, and he was in that stage where he was like after a child star and he was a little pudgy, and it's the funniest looking thing. I'm like, I will never see that.
Yeah.
So it, like, no one cared about the sequels, no one gave a shit about it. Like, this could be like an edgy hit, but I don't think so.
I think that's the most it's going to be, is like an edgy hit.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how far it's really going to go.
And a lot of it also, there was that morbid curiosity because everyone knew what scene he got killed in.
I was about to say, it was well known, and people still say to this day that they kept the shot in.
Yeah.
When he actually was shot.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. That's one of those Hollywood rumors.
One of the rumors.
But it was part of the whole thing. Even like, I remember watching, it was featured on an episode of my beloved Welcome to the Basement, and they were watching it and just talking about the mentality of the 90s and how much this was influenced by the 90s and how much this influenced the 90s.
Oh my God, huge.
And it's just like, it was so of its time. I don't know that that's going to translate really well now. It might end up being one of those things that everybody's like, whoa, The Crow, it's still culturally relevant. I think it might end up being more like, oh, The Crow came out this week? I fully forgot that was coming out.
And you know what? If this doesn't have Ernie Hudson in it playing a cop, then it's not really The Crow. Period on the story.
It's all one universe.
It's all the same, damn it. He should be the police commissioner now instead of just a B cop.
They still firebomb those neighborhoods every Halloween night.
Which, I gotta say though, still, for those of you who have not seen the OG Crow, still an entertaining movie.
It has that kind of like, it reminds me a lot of Ghost Rider or what's the other one?
Yeah, but without being
Blade.
as cartoony.
Blade, like kind of that very dark but very serious, almost too serious at times, to the point where it's almost kind of funny how serious it's trying to be.
That's true.
And it goes just a little too far. And it's just like, you get what they're going for, but at the same time, you also kind of laugh at what they're doing. And so they're, better movie than Ghost Rider, but has a lot of the same energy in my mind as Ghost Rider.
I still love Spirit of Vengeance when he pees flames. I'm sorry, that was
I have been meaning to watch Spirit of Vengeance. I have not been able to make
never
myself.
seen it?
I've never seen
Okay,
Spirit of Vengeance.
here's the thing about Spirit of Vengeance. It has an early Idris Elba
Yes.
performance in it, which is great. The CG of Ghost Rider himself is 5 million times better. It looks spectacular.
Because he can be in the daytime now.
But it's a terrible movie.
But they because that was one of the stipulations they had made, was that he was a nighttime creature in the first one.
But like, even if you look at the first one, the skull itself is very clean.
It's very floaty.
Very floaty, but it's very clean. Very white, very clean. This is more dirty and has more like texture to it. It looks like, you'll watch it and be like, oh, okay, that looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But the movie itself sucks ass.
Yeah.
But